All right.
Let's
You good?
see. It is now flashing red. We are recording. Thank you so much, Carol. Great. Well, I think we're set to go. Let's do this. So, welcome everyone. I'm delighted that you're with us this morning for this training on Vice President of Education. My name's Alan Blake. I am a distinguished Toastmaster. I've been with Toastmasters for 16 years. And currently I am the outgoing Vice President of Education at Henderson Toastmasters, with the wonderful Teresa Stingson coming in to take over. And I'm glad to see that Teresa is with us today. Now, I'm sure we have a mixture. You can wave. How many first-timers do we have out there? First time to the VP of Education. Give everyone a wave. This is good news. This was not my first time. I think I've done this job several times. So I believe, and I'm sure, let's have a wave from all of those other people who have been Vice President of Education at least once or several times before. And that's me. That's also good to see. So this is great. What that means is we can leverage this nice diverse mix of first-timers and experienced Vice Presidents of Education. So I'm going to welcome any comments that people would like to make. You can unmute and say, hey, Alan, I have a comment here, and I would welcome that, because I think the more we share, the more we learn, and the more we build our community of Vice Presidents of Education. And I'll say this simply. Being the Vice President of Education is just a wonderful opportunity to be a resource for new and existing members, to help those members achieve the education awards, to help the club achieve their education awards. And that means that you're building thriving individuals, a thriving club, and that gives you a great platform for growth. And on top of this, as Vice President of Education, the good news is you get lots of opportunities to speak, to build your own speaking skills and your leadership skills. Now, there are going to be a few surprise photographs in this very traditional Toastmasters presentation. So don't be surprised about the fact that perhaps yours truly appears occasionally. Because I discovered I could edit the photographs, and I thought that was good news. So the agenda is simple. We're going to talk about your role, your responsibilities, and the resources to support you in that role. And ultimately, what we want you to do as you leave this training session is to feel comfortable that you really know what your role is about, that you feel comfortable that you'll be able to fulfill your responsibilities, and that you'll be able to find the resources that can help you. So this is me again, and we're going to sit on this slide. So sorry, you're going to have to look at me for a while in stereo, so to speak. I was given a speech a few weeks ago, and that wonderful photograph in the background was my two boys that I spoke to you about. David, the eldest one, who now lives in New Zealand, and Michael on the left of that, who lives in Manila in the Philippines. And there are two other young ones there. They're my grandson, Everett, and our granddaughter, Margaret. So you've got this, my family's participating in this training today, and I'm delighted to have them with us. So let's think about this. And I'm going to welcome comments here. And it's as simple as, before I go through all the details, and they're going to be in details and they're important, how do you think about your role as Vice President of Education? What do you think the essence of the role is? And I'd certainly welcome you to raise your hand, put comments in the chat box. So what do you think the essence is of the role of the Vice President of Education? Encouragement, yes. Being in touch with all club members, wonderful comment. Keep the president's head on his or her neck, absolutely. Support, we are the glue, motivation, mentoring, support members' growth, I love it. Operating pathways. Yes, there's a session after this that's going to be important that you go to. Assist people to reach their goals and club goals. Yes, I love it. You've got it. The essence is to ensure that members understand the education program and that they know members' goals and enable them to achieve them. So to have your members succeed in why they joined Toastmasters in the first place. So let's extend this a little bit more. You've got, absolutely, this is wonderful. You've got the essence of what the VPE is. But there's some nitty gritty to this, because all of us, when we're volunteers, and when we take on a role, we think, okay, well, what's expected of me here? How much effort do I need to put in to make sure that I'm doing this job well, that I'm supporting my club? And there's some nitty gritty here that if you keep it simple and you can focus on these things, you'll make your life easy, and you'll make it easy for the club members. It's also just some thoughts. Throw into the chat box again now here. What do you think are the key responsibilities of the Vice President of Education? Just some thoughts, throw them out there. The key responsibilities of the Vice President of Education. What would you put in there? First timers as well as those who are experienced. Let's get a nice spectrum. What do you think would be the key responsibilities? Set goals for each member. Keeping track of pathway speeches, track progress, scheduling, supporting member goals. Know how each member is doing in their pathway. Get educational awards submitted. Educate club mentors, assign a mentor. I love this. Clearly, we've got some people here that have been in this role before, and they've been learning on their way. Help members succeed in their goal of why they joined Toastmasters clubs. These are all great things. And believe it or not, you can go to the Toastmasters International site, and it'll tell you in a very neat way, a summary of your job, the responsibilities and the skills learned. And I'm going to refer to that later on, and I'll read some of this out. But the website is absolutely a great resource. And we'll share those resources at the end of all the sorts of information that you would need to be able to do your job. So let me just bring this to a close and give you the summary of what this is. And I want to read this last comment, because this is an interesting one. The key responsibility of the VP is to define the vision and mission of each member to reach personal actualization. I'll comment on that in a second. I want to hold that one, Terry. That's an interesting one. So let me just list these roles, and then I'm going to come back to Terry's comment. So certainly the VP of E should coordinate the club schedule. Interesting. Assist with education awards. Absolutely. Really be a good base camp manager. So have good knowledge of how to work in pathways, plan speech contests, and manage the mentor program. So you've covered all of these things. And I think that's great. And I want to read this. This is given in the presentation materials. And it says this. It says, your role as Vice President Education is stated in the club constitution and standard bylaws of Toastmasters International is this. The Vice President of Education is the second ranking club officer. You are second in command, and you are responsible for planning, organizing, and directing a club program which meets the educational needs of the individual members. Vice President Education chairs the Education Committee. So there you have it. That's what's in the Toastmasters International Club Constitution and Standard Bylaws. And that covers it pretty neatly. But I want to go back to Terry's comment. The key responsibility of the VPE is to define the vision and mission of each member. Well, you know what, Terry? This has to be a partnership. And you will be in overload if you're trying to define every individual's vision and mission. So you have to be in partnership with those members to work out what their vision and mission will be for them within the club's framework so that they succeed. So then your point about personal actualization is absolutely spot on. But my comment would be it's a partnership, and the individuals have to be able to step up and tell us what they're thinking and what they want. But great comment, and I thank you for that. Okay, so you've seen enough of me in this darn photograph. I think we need to move on, because there's some nitty-gritty that needs to happen here, and here it is. We have to talk about, and it's important for you to understand, the responsibilities, the day in and day out stuff of the club meeting, outside the club meeting, and yes, your club officers have an executive committee. So we're going to make sure that we again talk about the club meeting, because that is the lifeblood of our club, and what happens before club meetings, upon arrival at club meetings, and during club meetings. Does that make sense? I think it does. So let's go to the next bit. So here we go. Before club meetings, you're going to review scheduled roles. You're going to offer support to the Toastmaster. You're going to schedule education sessions, and you're going to notify the club president of education awards. So let's just stop there and see if there's any comments, any questions, any thoughts about this as we get into this. You know, this is kind of what you do. Any questions, any thoughts? You can type them in the chat. Is this all making sense? Well, yeah, that's a good comment. A club without a good vice president of education is in trouble. Well, I hope not. I mean, but ultimately, yes, you are second in command. And when the club president isn't able to attend a meeting, then typically you're the one who will step in and run a meeting. Can I explain scheduling education sessions? Absolutely, I will. So let's just take it from the top and I'll explain each one. So let's think about reviewing scheduled roles. Many of your clubs will meet every other week. My club, my goodness, meets every week. And you know what? It's tough to get those agendas filled in every week. But that's the key to successful meetings, is to make sure that you have a full agenda, that all the speaking roles are filled and all the support roles are filled. And I'd welcome any comments that people have about what they do to make sure that their agendas are complete so that they can have successful meetings. But typically for Henderson Toastmasters, we work week from week. So we make sure that we start the process at the end of the meeting so that we can start the following meeting a week later with a full agenda. So what do people do to get their agendas complete and full? Any suggestions, any helpful thoughts here to encourage people to sign up?
Can I do verbally instead of typing?
Absolutely, please.
So this is Kathy from Pro Toastmasters. I'll actually come on screen, although I didn't put makeup on. It's early.
Kathy, you look wonderful this morning.
Thank you. I put a nice filter on so I look better. So I send out a Google form about 2 weeks out, or sometimes only 1 week out of the new month. If I'm smart, I do 2 weeks out, and I have them check off which meetings they can go to, won't go to, or maybe for. And then I list all of the roles, and I ask them which roles they're interested in doing. And I ask them what their current project or priorities are. And then I also make sure they know that even though they don't volunteer for a role, they may still get stuck with the role. So it helps because then I know how many people are showing up, and I do the schedule for 1 month out. So, and then I just taunt them until they fill out the form. If they don't fill it out, I just assign them as I want. So it works out pretty good, but they're now in the habit of doing it. And you can just copy the Google form from the previous month, make the edits in it, change the dates, and then if you get yourself on a program, it's really a great way to do the monthly. And we have weekly meetings, so that's why I do it that way, because we don't have a week in between.
That's a great thought. And I agree with it. There's a lot of cajoling, maybe a little bit of taunting, but lots of encouragement to get people going on their pathways, especially for new members. It's important that we help new members sign up and get going on their speech program. So thank you, Kathy. A month out, put weeks up in advance, reminder emails, use Free Toast Host. Absolutely. Our club uses Free Toast Host. We have our website, and anyone can go into that website then as a member, log in and sign up for roles. And you know what? When you go to the Basecamp Manager training, you're going to start to realize that Free Toast Host, when you have it set up, it is connected to Pathways. So whenever anyone inputs their speech and their pathways, it automatically loads up the evaluation form for your evaluator. It's a great thing. So I'm just giving a plug to Free Toast Host. Absolutely, Kathy, it rocks. All right, good. So we've had some suggestions on reviewing the schedule. Now, as I said, you support the Toastmaster. I think that's clear. If the Toastmaster needs help, you step up and you support the Toastmaster in making sure that the meeting's going to be run well and that all the roles are fulfilled, that the Toastmaster feels comfortable, especially for someone taking on the Toastmaster role for the first time. And it's always nice to recognize that person. We give them a gavel pencil. Just a nice thing to encourage people to step up and take on the role of Toastmaster in your club. Now this one, someone said, schedule education sessions. Well, let me just throw it back out there. Some of you who are experienced, what does that mean? Schedule education sessions. Any thoughts?
Yeah, this is Greg Bjorgo at Storytellers. We do a monthly workshop where we invite in an expert on some area of storytelling or storytelling techniques. And the club VPE is in charge of scheduling those workshops.
Greg, thank you. Any other thoughts?
This is Dana Wall Oakley. I'm the incoming EVP for Powerhouse Pros. No, I'm sorry, authors and aspiring authors. And quite often we'll have maybe a month or every other month, somebody will give a big speech about how to use the Free Toast Host or how to use Pathways. So if you have somebody who needs to give a longer speech, they can do an educational on the how-tos.
Great. Thank you, Dana. The reality is, yes, sometimes these educational speeches take longer and you have to plan for them. So you're going outside of the regular 5 to 7 minute speeches. You need to plan ahead. And then Susan said here, educational moments. Are these the education sessions? Absolutely. So I wanted to highlight that for you as VPEs. All these resources are on the website for you, but they are the educational moments, the Successful Club series. And there are presentations there that you can pull out. For example, evaluate to motivate. So you give training on how to give an evaluation that will motivate your members to come back and speak again. Moments of truth, all those elements of interaction with new members and existing members that help you to grow your club. Finding new members for your club, mentoring. All of these are valuable programs that help you become a successful club. And you should think about how these presentations can be given at least once per year. So you're going to keep on cycling them back in year on, because of course, you know the turnover of your club membership. So that's the education awards. And then the education sessions. And then you need to notify the club president of education awards. Now, this is an important thing here because now that we've gone into Pathways, things have changed a little bit. And sometimes as VP of Ed, if you're not familiar with Pathways, you can run into a few glitches. So let me keep this simple. Every individual, it's their responsibility with you working with them to make sure they keep their education records up to date. And when they achieve a level, they submit that they have completed a level. You as VPE will be notified of this within the Pathways system. You review it and you accept that they've achieved that level and you award them a certificate. Good news, woohoo! Recognition, but your job's not done. And this is something you're going to learn in the next presentation. You then have to go into Club Central to submit the awards to Toastmasters International so that your club gets recognized for those achievements. I've said a lot there. I'm not going to go into any more detail because I know this will be covered in the next Pathways Base Camp, but hopefully that made sense to people. So let's keep moving here. I'll make sure I haven't missed any comments. Oh, they're all good. So keep throwing those comments in there. And if you'd like to speak up, again, do not be afraid. So here we are now. We're arriving at club meetings. And yes, you have a role to play here in the club meetings, in the real world, the face-to-face world, and in the hybrid world and the virtual world. You want to make sure that all of the people who said they were going to do something have shown up. Speakers and others who are taking on the roles. And if not, you'll need to work with the Toastmaster to just adjust. And this often happens, so you need to be sort of fleet on your feet, just to make sure that you have a complete schedule for that meeting that's going to make sense and will run smoothly. And this always happens at the last minute. Some people can't make it, but the good news is often you'll have backup speakers and the like. And so you then get your backup speaker to say, hey, you're on. Alan, you're on. I know you were backup, but you're on. You're going to be able to talk about your life experiences as part of your level 2 program. So you're always assisting the Toastmaster. And then this next one, I'd welcome some comments on this about greeting guests. I mean, sometimes this is, people get nervous about this. What do I do? What do I say? Any thoughts in the chat box, or anyone like to speak up? How do you feel about greeting guests? Start by saying hello. Absolutely, Jesse. That's got to be a nice icebreaker. Nervous but willing. Greet guests and ask how they found us and what they want to get out of Toastmasters. Just be natural and welcoming. Great to greet guests and make them comfortable. It was easy when the meetings were live. Well, you know what, Peggy? My goodness, we have had so much Zoom experience and Teams experience, and goodness knows what other system experience right now. It's strange, but yes, you can say hi virtually in the hybrid situation, and you can click on the chat box and send a personal message to someone who's new and just say, hi, glad you're with us. I'm Alan Blake. I'm the Vice President of Education. I'd love to talk to you at the end of the meeting. Jesse, during the pandemic, certain things may have been closed, but hearts can still be open. That's a wonderful sentiment. And these have been unusual times, but I tell you, what? That went right to my heart. Thank you. I really truly hope that my heart is open, and the same for everyone else. And yes, and don't forget to greet people who may arrive late. So this is so important. We want to make our guests feel comfortable, really welcome, and that they experience a great meeting. And then we'll comment after the meeting, but absolutely, you want to find out how they felt. You want to know whether they would be willing to join in the meeting, because sometimes people are really scary and suddenly you say, what, you want me to participate? So you need to just calm them down and say, it's okay, just watch, observe, and tell us what you think. But if you'd love to join in, then we will invite you to join in. And then ultimately, you know what the goal here is to make these people have these guests have such a wonderful time that they will be just demanding, they will be so desperate to come back because they discover that this is the place for them and that they want to be with you. Keeping an eye on my time in here. So during club meetings, this all makes sense, doesn't it? You want to make sure how your members are doing. So you're seeing them coming up to speak. You're seeing people give evaluations. You're seeing people take on roles. So you're observing their progress, and you're seeing who's a bit shy, who isn't perhaps participating as much as you think maybe they should be. So you can check in on how each member is doing just individually, having a chat. And then you can look at their pathways and talk about their pathways and how they're doing. And again, in the next session, you'll discover that you can look at the individual progress within pathways. So you get a sense, how often are they giving speeches? And you can understand what's going on with those individuals that's going to help them fulfill their needs and their ambitions. I made that previous point that they have to fill out award applications in Pathways. So here it is. We are in the online world. We are digital. We are no longer analog. No more books. We are in that online world. So it's again important that even those who struggle with this, we need to show them how they fill out their application in Pathways. We need to show them how they activate Pathways. So this is going to be so important that you get comfortable with Pathways so that you can have one-on-ones or you can have Zooms. I've done this many times in this world. I've had Zooms with individuals sharing screens and walking them through how they get their Pathways programs activated. And then more than anything, when they've submitted their applications, we need to recognize those members for achievements virtually and in person by giving them their awards and really cheering them on. Any comments? Anyone like to speak up on this or in the chat? Please feel free to do so now. Well, here's a great comment from Nora. We probably actually take more time before and after the meeting to visit under Zoom. It is an easy way to get to know guests. Yes, it's always good to, our club starts 15 minutes before the meeting so that we can have a chat. And then those who'd like to hang around afterwards, we hang around and have a chat and check in on a few things. So I think that's a great idea. And if people have brought their computers along with them, you can share on Zoom, or you can, provided you've got good Wi-Fi in the room, you can get them going on their computer and just get into Pathways with them. I think that's a great comment. Zoom orientations for Pathways and FTH are terrific. Sherry, thank you. Good, and this next session for your training is going to be terrific as well. Okay. Thank you for those comments. I love them. They're tremendous. And boy, I am feeling the love. So thank you. Also, during the club meetings, we've said this, you need to preside over the meeting when necessary, but perhaps more importantly, you need to be seen as the go-to person. You are the go-to person on the education program. And in particularly when it's speech contest time, you need to be familiar with how speech contests are run and how your club is going to run a speech contest. And again, all these resources are available to you on the website, and you have a list of those at the end of this presentation. But this is a great one. I get questions all the time on the education program. I get questions on, a great example that I had the other week was, hey, Alan, I thought I'd finished my level 1. Why didn't you accept the submission of my level 1 award. And I said, Dorothy's my wife. She's a distinguished Toastmaster, so I'm using her name. I said, Dorothy, you've done really well. You've given all the 4 speeches that you're supposed to give in level 1. But remember, you also have to give an evaluation of someone else's speech and be evaluated for that evaluation. So my point here is you need to feel comfortable for the requirements of pathways across each of the levels so that when you get questions, you can at least provide guidance. And if you're not sure, then you can go into pathways with the individual and show them. Again, let me stop there to see if you're comfortable with that. Any questions on that before we move on? I'm sensing that you're probably okay with that, but realize that there's a learning curve here, and there is a learning curve. So I'll encourage you to be brave with this because we're always on a learning curve. I've been in Toastmasters 16 years and I'm still on a learning curve. So outside the club meeting, yes, you have stuff outside the club meeting. This is pretty obvious. We've spoken about this. Those club meetings week to week, make sure that you're getting a rhythm in there and you're getting people to sign up. Promote participation in the education program. So again, this whole thing about understanding your members' goals, actualizing them, helping them get set up so that they give speeches on a regular basis and they take on the support roles in a meeting that helps you drive a successful club. Orient the new members. So this is so important for new members. When new members come in now, it's a digital world. You've got to work with those new members to get them kick-started. All too often we see new members come in, they're excited, and then we suddenly leave them alone because we haven't taken the time to work with them to activate them and really get them engaged. And then we have members for just 6 months, and then we're fighting like crazy to get our membership up again. And of course, you need to encourage those new members to participate. So any comments there on, what are the tricks of the trade here to get new members up and running? Encouragement and hand-holding. Make sure they have a mentor. Assign a mentor. Thank you so much. You have given the key to this. When we have new members, don't leave them for weeks on end without a mentor. Assign a mentor. Or maybe they've seen someone when they've been there as a guest, you say, you know what, I'd like Kathy to be my mentor. I'd like Alan or Greg to be my mentor. And then we'll do our best to get them together. And it won't take a huge amount of effort, but just that little bit of TLC will get the new members oriented, up and running, and they've got someone they can bounce things off of. I've spent many times with my mentees on the phone, and they've given me their speech over the phone. My goodness. But it works. It helps build confidence and helps them grow. All right, I'm going to start speeding up here. So we've said we need to assign a member. You should attend your club executive committee meetings, so your officers get together and you talk about what's going on. And then every so often you have district council meetings, and the president and the vice president of education, you get to vote. So you need to make sure that you sign up and you register your club proxy so that you can vote on important things that impact your club, your area, your division, and your district. And this happens a couple of times a year. So it's important that you sign up for that club proxy and that your club's vote gets counted and that you hear what's going on with the district. Then outside the club meeting, you need to make sure again that your members are making progress. So you can go into the base camp and see how they're doing, as well as talking. You can see how they're doing. You can arrange for your replacement or assistants at the end of your year. So it was my job to make sure that I worked with our Toastmaster and the committee to ensure that we had a new Vice President of Education coming in. And Teresa, hello, wherever you are out there in all of this gallery, I'm delighted that you're here. And Teresa knows that I will be a resource to her so that she succeeds. And that is crucial. So here we go. My goodness, I'm here again on the executive committee. I'm sure some of you know this wonderful individual here, but in between my wife, Dorothy, on the right, who's a distinguished Toastmaster, and this is Mark Brown, a very good friend of mine. Mark Brown is the world champion of public speaking from 1995. And he and I met at a district conference when I was given a motivational speech at the district conference, and Mark was in there. And I happened to mention soccer, what I know only love is football, but it's soccer. And he and I are big soccer fans, and we have been best friends ever since. But the reality is, your officers get together, and then you need to make sure that you plan for those education programs that we talked about earlier, and that you factor them in. And then importantly, knowing the district schedule, you factor in your speech contest, because this creates a different dynamic for your members. They get comfortable speaking in the club environment. Then when you put them into this competitive environment, it creates a different dynamic that really helps individuals grow. So finally, here are some of the hows and whens and who and what. There's a checklist. You're here today. You're attending the TLI. Congratulations. I am so proud of you. And I hope that this has proved value. And you know that there are 2 TLIs every year. It's important that you work with your president to get at least 4 of your officers trained, but preferably all 7. You need to look at those support materials, and I'm going to show you those next. You'll meet with the outgoing officers to make sure that they share their love and their wisdom. And Teresa will meet with me, as I said, so that I can share that love and wisdom and assure her that I am the immediate past Vice President of Education. And therefore, the learning I've had, I will make sure that I help her, and I will be part of any committee that she wants to form for the education program to make things run smoothly. And then obviously, as a new officer, you are going to have an officers meeting fairly soon, probably in July, with your club president. Last comment, get an education committee going if you can. I know I will work with Teresa, so you are not alone. And then meet with each member to discuss their educational goals. And then here it is. All this material is going to be available to you. You'll get a copy of this and a recording of the speech. I'd like to throw it open to you now for any final comments that you'd like to make or any final questions. Looking forward to hearing more about the district meetings. I guarantee you will, and it will be up to you and your club president to share that with your club as a whole. I text, call all members before every meeting. Numbers are in my phone to make it easy. I love it. Connect regularly to make sure the questions are answered and educational needs are met. This is a nice comment about assigning a mentor and assign their icebreaker speech. I send the icebreaker speech PDF file soon after they join. That's a great idea, because all too often we get this question, well, what am I supposed to say in an icebreaker? And anyone can tell them, but certainly as a Vice President of Education, just talk about you. If you feel comfortable talking about you, that's all we're asking you. Introduce yourself to the club. It's 4 to 6 minutes, but you speak as long as you're comfortable. It's just about getting up there, stepping up and speaking up, finding your voice. And you know what? If that's a message I'd leave with you as a final comment almost, if nothing else, I would tell you the Vice President of Education's job is to help every member find their voice. I was helped to find my voice 16 years ago, and I have never looked back. I will always be a Toastmaster because of the power of those people who helped me when I joined Toastmasters. And it's all about, for me, it's all about giving back now. Toastmasters changed my life. That's a story I'll have to tell another time. But I love the comments. I know we're going to be kicked back into the regular room in about 2 minutes. So here, I'll just read your final comments as well here. Thank you, Alan. Well, those are nice comments. Thank you. Find their voice and let all members know they are not alone on their journey. They are not alone, and we all have different journeys. Thank you, Teresa. I'm excited to work with you too. Right, so just remember, I know some of you may have other plans, but if you can, it would be great to be able to join the session, and it is called Pathway Base Camp, but I can't say the words, Pathway Base Camp Manager, presented by Christine Harrell. That will be a powerful support training for you as you go into your job as Toastmasters, as Vice Presidents of Education. So finally, all I'll say is, good luck. Keep a smile on your face. You are not alone. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. You will love the job and you will have a great year. Be safe. Enjoy your virtual meetings. Enjoy your hybrid meetings. I'm finally going back live. We have a hybrid meeting. It's a lot of fun, especially for the VPE, being live and virtual. Stay safe, go well, enjoy your next session. Thank you so much.
One of the rooms now.
You're not gonna go now. You need to wait until they all close.
Oh, 10,
So-
10. Oh, it's not till 10 after. Okay, I see.
Right.
Thank you.
They're all closed now. And I am going to
Carol, can you put me in the sergeant at arms room? I do not know how to get there. I'm on a telephone.
All right, I am opening the new rooms right now. So if you know how to move yourself to a new room, go ahead and do so. And everybody should be able to move to their next room. You have corporate membership and PR. You have vice president of PR. You have sergeant at arms. You have base camp manager, and you have meeting roles.
Yeah.
But it doesn't show up the various rooms. You may have to put us in breakout rooms because it's not on here.
All the breakout rooms are now open. Did you go down to breakout rooms?
There's no option on the screen like there was last time.
Yeah, it's not on there anymore. When you closed it, it went off.
Well, I just opened them all back up.
Go down to breakout rooms
Okay.
at the bottom of your screen and click on it. Scroll down till you
Ah.
find the one you want, and then click on the join button next to it. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
All right. It says I'm recording. I didn't click it, so I assume somebody clicked it for me. All right, you guys, we are starting at 10:10, so you have 7 minutes to run and get a snack or a drink and then get back here. Make sure that you put, again, your name, your club name or club names if you have multiple clubs, and what roles you fulfill. Just so we make sure everybody gets credit for everything they attended.
You mean put it in the chat?
In the chat, yes.
Okay, okay.
Five-minute warning, everybody. 5 minutes to get more caffeine. 1 minute warning. Okay, everybody, my clock shows 10:10, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Basecamp Manager Training. My name is Kristen Harrell. I am the current district director for District 115. I am also Vice President of Education for Henderson Toasters, and I am the future President of Bon Appetit Toastmasters and Secretary of Morelli House Toastmasters. I've been a Basecamp manager pretty much since Pathways rolled out, and I'm still learning new things. I think we all are, and as soon as we figure it all out, TI decides to change Basecamp, and we get to start all over again. I want to remind you that this session is being recorded and will be posted on a public website. So if you do not want your face shown, feel free to turn off your camera. Also, we are going to be going through the TI website. It does work with some pop-ups, and I can't always see what you guys are seeing. So if at any time I am talking about a screen and you're not seeing what I'm talking about, please let me know so that I can change your view and make sure that you see what you need to see. First of all, the main Basecamp manager is the Vice President of Education. The president and secretary are the backup Basecamp managers. So only people in those three roles will have access to what I'm showing you today. If you are the president or the secretary, it's important to know how to use Basecamp, but I implore you to please coordinate with your Vice President of Education before you approve anyone's levels or enter any educationals, because sometimes people will submit things that they aren't really done with. And the Vice President of Education would know that, whereas the president and secretary might not. And you do not want to get yourself in a situation as president or secretary where you have approved somebody for something they did not finish and have to go back and deal with that situation. So please make sure that your Vice President of Education is always the one leading this charge. Anthony will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions and you put them in there, we will get to those at some point and discuss them. But I want to get started right away. So I am going to share screen and take you straight to, hopefully the screen is very familiar to all of you. We are at toastmasters.org and I have already logged in. I call this up here where it says welcome and your name. I call this the magic portal. This is your portal to pretty much everything related to you and related to Pathways. So I always go in through there. Yes, you can go to Pathways and access everything that way as well. But to me, this is the shortcut and keeps everything nice and concise. So I always enter through here. Before I go in as Basecamp manager, I'm going to go in as a member because I need to do a couple things in order to be able to show you what Basecamp managers can do. So I am going to log into my home club. If you have multiple clubs, they'll be in a drop down. I'm going to log in under my home club and click go. As a member, you can go right here. This is your Basecamp landing page. Go to your paths and learning. This is where it will keep all of your paths and everything that you're working on. And I am going to go into my engaging humor level 5 and submit it so that when we log in as Basecamp manager, there will be something for us to approve. So as you can see, I've already completed level 5, but I have not, see where it says not activated down here under completion. I haven't sent it to my Basecamp manager for completion yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do that right now so that you guys can see. I'm going to hit mark complete. And now as a member, you see it says pending completion approval. That's because this has now been sent to my Basecamp managers for approval. I'm going to go back home. And then if we go back to our Toastmaster profile, now I'm going to log in again, the same way, except I'm going to click log in as Basecamp manager. If you are a Basecamp manager, you will have that option. If you're not, you will not. So I am now going to log in as Basecamp manager.
Kristen,
Yes, sir.
somebody's asking if you can go just a little bit slower so that they can take more notes.
Absolutely. And again, this will also be recorded, so you can go back and watch it as well. Okay. So as Basecamp manager, I've logged in. I'll show you that one more time. Come on, hover. Oh, yeah. I'm going to go back to the start page and I'll go back here. All right. You are at your profile, which you got to just by clicking on welcome and your name. This first tile at the upper left is where you access Basecamp. If you just click go, it's going to take you as a member. If you want to log in as the Basecamp manager, you need to click log in as Basecamp manager and then click go. Now, as the Basecamp manager, the main thing that you're going to be doing is approving level requests, and that will be found under pending requests right here. All you have to do is click on that tile. Now you'll see, because I went in and submitted level 5, it's telling you Kristen Harrell has submitted for level 5 engaging humor. And I have the option over here of a green check for yes, I'm approving it, or a red X for no. The only reason you would click no is if somebody submitted something they hadn't completed. And trust me, it does happen. We've had people who thought that the only thing you have to do for a level 1 is to do your icebreaker and that's it. So after they finished icebreaker, they skipped right down to level completion and they submitted it. As the vice president of education, that person should be tracking what projects people have done and would know that they have not done all the projects. And in that case, they would decline that. However, I have done all of that, so I am going to click check. You can put comments in here. I'm just going to put good job. Normally with other members, I put something else in there, but for myself, I'm just going to click good job. And now you see that clears. So now I have no other pending requests that need to be approved. The other thing as Basecamp manager that you can do. Wow, this is being slow today.
Excuse me, you can't
Yes,
do it
go
for
ahead.
yourself, can you?
Absolutely, you can. And this is one downside of Basecamp. You can approve your own educationals in Basecamp. What you cannot do is then submit them in Club Central. So the other side of this would be once you've approved someone's level, you would go into Club Central, and I'll show you that in a minute, but you would go into Club Central and then submit their educational there. Now, as a Basecamp manager, I do not have access to do that in Club Central. I would then have to ask somebody else, my president or my secretary, someone else to go and submit that in Club Central for me. And I'll show you how I do that in just a second. So I want to, right now I'm staying in Basecamp Manager. So I wanted to show you that what you can do right now, I'm in under myself, but I need to check on one of my other members and see what they're up to. So I am going to start typing their name, and I'll back up real quick and show you this again. There's a search box up here at the top right. And if you start,
Kristen,
yes.
I have a leave breakout room box showing.
Okay, well, don't click it.
But
Okay.
it says it's closing in 37 seconds, so it's an error.
Okay.
Yes. If we leave, we'll have to come back and join Basecamp Manager training again.
Okay.
So just be careful.
Just-
If it does, then we'll have to all choose to come back to that. And it'll be the 3 dots down at the bottom that say more. And you can go ahead and click that and it'll have all the choices. Scroll down till you find Basecamp Manager. But I have a feeling because it says all breakout rooms are closing,
Yeah,
Carol
she
will-
clicked it, but
Carol will go ahead and open up.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
We had somebody accidentally, who was a co-host, accidentally close out our breakout rooms. So we're reopening the breakout rooms. Sorry about that. Please rejoin your breakout.
Kristen, you're muted.
wow.
all right, we're back.
What a
I
learning
guess
experience.
that is the downside of having too many co-hosts, especially when they don't all know Zoom. All right, now I'm going to have to go back to Basecamp where I was. All right, here we are. Okay, so we are in Basecamp Manager. Up at the top right, there's a search box. If you start typing the name of one of your members, they will pop up. So this is Michelle, and I'm going to click on her. I am now in Michelle's Basecamp as if I was Michelle. So I can see all of Michelle's stuff. And the cool thing about this is, yes, there's a lot of reports and I'll show you where to find them. However, sometimes it doesn't give you all the information that you need on what your members are doing. So this way I can actually log in as her. So I can go up here at the top, I can look at her Basecamp profile, which is, you know, interesting. And I can see if she's put in any roles that she did. So that might be important in, for instance, one of the levels, you have to be an evaluator, a speech evaluator. In one of them, I think you have to be Toastmaster. So it's good if your members have been logging this information. If not, you can always go back to your agendas and look at it. But this is a nice place for them to keep that information if they're doing that.
So
But I
that's
can-
done individually by the person?
Yes. And I can show you how to do that. Again, that's not a Basecamp Manager function. That's a member function. But if we have time, I'll show you that as well. But the one thing I can do that's most important is I can go over here to her paths and learning. And I can see all of the things that she's signed up for. I can open her curriculum just like I do my own. I mean, it's basically the same as if I was in my own, but I'm in somebody else's. The important thing for this is people get stuck. They say, I don't understand. I finished this and nothing happened. It didn't move me to the next level. It didn't show me complete. It didn't, you know, whatever their issue is with their level, you can physically go in and see what the deal is. So I see she's 100% on 1 and 2. She's 50% on 3. So if she had told me, but I finished 3, I don't understand what's going on. I could go in here and I could see, oh, well, Michelle, it says that you need 2 electives. You've only completed 1 of them. And that way I can see exactly what's going on. I can even view the details. So if she says, no, but I swear I did 2, I could go in here and I could look and I can see that she's clicked on Know Your Sense of Humor because it's blue and it says in progress. If you notice right next to it, it says in progress. That means she's clicked on it. She's activated it, but she hasn't finished it. Focus on the positive. She clicked on that. So that says in progress. And then this is the one she completed. So I can actually drill all the way down. Somebody is unmuted. Could you please mute? Because I'm getting some feedback. Thank you. So I can actually go in here and view all of her details if I want and find out exactly what's going on. So I can see when she activated it, when was the last time she accessed, how much she's done on it. So I have all that information. And that is super helpful, especially because a lot of people just get stuck somewhere and they just need a little bit of a push or help figuring out what they're doing wrong or what they missed. And this gives you access to literally go in and be them for a minute and really look at it and say, okay, I see where you went wrong. I see that you didn't finish this. And that gives you the opportunity to really help them.
Kristen, one other thing that a lot of people forget to do or don't know that they have to do, in order to complete out a level, after your speech, you have to go back in and do the completion evaluation on the pathways track on that. So you might want to show them or explain that to them, because that's okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go back in as a member in a minute, and I'm going to show them some other things that their members can do, because that will help them be able to facilitate their members as well. But while we're in Basecamp, the other thing I wanted to show you, and these are useful if you're, especially if you're a new vice president of education and your previous vice president of education did not keep up with what everybody's doing, you can go back and reconcile everybody's path by using the reports. So we are, again, are in Basecamp Manager, just like when we originally logged in, we're at that landing page. And up here across the top, you can go to reports. And you can pick, come on. You can pick standard reports, custom reports, or dashboards. I don't have any custom reports set up right now, so I'm going to go to standard reports. So there's pending requests, training status summary. And they've changed all of these. I don't like the way this one's set up. So I'm going to actually go to my dashboard. Come on. Come on. And sometimes you get the spinning wheel of death. Okay. So I went to the dashboard, and I think this is what most people who've been Basecamp managers before are familiar with. It was called something else before. So this is where you can get basically a picture of what's going on with your club. The one I like is, it's path progress. No matter what you go into in the dashboard, you need to go over to the right in the options and click refresh. And unfortunately that, well, actually it's a little quicker today. No, some of them are still spinning. Sometimes this takes a little while to refresh, but this will give you all the information about what's going on in your club. And I think what most people don't realize, right now, this just looks like generic information on status of all paths. But if you hover in the upper right-hand corner of this, if you see this drop down shows up, and I wish they would leave that drop down on all the time because most people don't realize it's there. So if you click on that drop down, you can view the details, or you can even export this to Excel. So if you're trying to reconcile what your club's done, if you're a new VP of Ed, maybe export this to Excel and sort it. And then that way you can figure out exactly where everybody is. But if you click on view details, and this is a pop-up, so can you guys see it? Did you see it pop up? No? Okay, then I'm gonna have to do a new share. Just a sec. I want you guys to see this. So I'm gonna have to, I need to open the Zoom back up so I can new share for you guys. All right, new share. And here we go. All right. So when you, hopefully now you're seeing it. Do you see all the details? Okay. So when you click on, you hover over the upper right-hand corner and you click on the drop down, click view details. then you get the breakdown of what looked like just a pretty graph. Because it used to be in the old Basecamp, all we got was the graph and it was not helpful information. But now you actually get all the details related to that information. So you can see all of your members now, and you can see what path are they in? What have they completed? When did they complete it? So it's got all of this information, or what percentage are they at on which things. So every single thing in the dashboard has all of this information related to it. And again, you can choose to export that to Excel. So if you are a brand new VP of Ed, hopefully your previous VP of Ed is going to hand you over some spreadsheet that has a beautiful tracking of what everybody's done. But given that that's not always the likelihood, you can go in as Basecamp manager, go to the reports dashboard, and then click on all of the different reports that they offer and export them to Excel. I think that would be my starting place as a VP of Ed so that I could see where everyone is. Now I am going to new share and go back to our previous screen so that I can keep going with that. All right, so we are back to the main dashboard. And you see it's still refreshing. This takes a long time to refresh, but I did want to show you that each one of these different boxes, paths registered, not yet started. That means people have chosen paths and they haven't actually started anything on them. Again, there's a drop down, view details, export to Excel. So you can do that for every single one of these. And I suggest, I mean, there's only 4 of them, so it's not a lot. I suggest that you start there. So go again to reports, dashboards, refresh the information, and then go to each of the reports and export them to Excel. That will give you a really good idea of where everybody is. So those are really the most important parts of Basecamp Manager as far as I'm concerned. But there's some other things that you need as Basecamp Manager to be able to facilitate for members. And I know there's been some questions on that. So I am going to go back right now. I'm going to visit the Pathway Start page again, and I'm going to go back as a member. One piece of information that you also need to know before we go here is that if you have members who are in multiple clubs and they have signed in a different club than yours, you will not have access to their information. So remember how I put Michelle's name in the search box? If Michelle was in multiple clubs and she had signed into a different club, her name would not show up there. So sometimes people are like, I have missing members, they're not there. Okay, they're not there because they logged into a different club. And if they need you to see their information, or if you need to see their information, all they need to do is go in here and sign in under your club. And see how it asks me it asks if I want to change my home club selection. If I said continue, then it would change it. And then the VP of Ed for that club would now be able to see my information. As it is, only the VP of Ed of my home club, Henderson Toasters, is able to see my information. So just be aware of that. If you think you have missing members, sometimes that might be the reason. Right. I am now going to log back in as a member because there's a couple things I want to show you so that you can help facilitate your members. Right. As a member, there's a few things that I can do that may affect you as a Basecamp manager. One of them is under my Paths and Learning. So all I did was log in and click on Paths and Learning. Over here, there's these 3 dots on the right-hand side. These are options. One of the things that is an option here is add external training. The purpose of external training is, well, there's several purposes. One is I am in a job where sometimes I have to give presentations. And I would like to count one of these presentations for one of my paths because it is something that relates to my level 3, something I'm doing in level 3. There's no way that my vice president of education would know that I did that presentation. So add external training is a way for me to let my Basecamp manager know that I want to do something that is outside of my club. Okay, somebody needs to mute. I'm getting feedback. Okay, I'm getting little kids talking.
Helen, can you mute? There you go.
Thank you. All right. So again, I was in Paths and Learning. I just clicked on the 3 dots and chose Add External Training. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to give a description of what I'm trying to do. And I'm just going to make something up because we're just doing this for presentation hour. Obviously, you would want to be more specific than this. But for our purposes right now, I'm just going to put something in quick. Who will I present to? All right, when am I going to do it? I'm doing it on the 21st. And it's only a 1-day thing. So I'm doing, what path is it going to? Let's count it for team collaboration. And it's going to be whatever. Oh, visual aids, because we're doing a PowerPoint. And I'm going to do it. Now here's a choice in a club other than my home club. You would use this if I am going to give my level 3 to Henderson Toasters. However, I am completing it by doing a presentation at Bon Appetit Toastmasters. My VP of Ed at Henderson Toasters would not know that I'm doing a project at Bon Appetit Toastmasters. So I would choose in a club other than my home club. This one is I'm doing something at work. So I'm going to choose outside of Toastmasters. And if there was any attachments to go with this, for instance, if I had any kind of write-up on this from my boss, something like that, I could do that. I could select a file, I could go out and I could find it and put it on there. I don't have that, so I'm just going to click submit. Now, as a Basecamp manager, you will get a request to approve this outside training, just like if I completed the level. It's in the same section. It's under pending approvals. So if we should have time, I'll go back and show you it's there now. But that is just another thing that members can do to help facilitate working with their Basecamp manager. Because there was a lot of, with the past, and you had your books in the legacy program. If I was going to do a project somewhere else, I'd just take my book with me and I would get that VP of Ed to sign off on it. We don't have that anymore. So this is basically what fills that void. This is how you communicate completing projects that are outside of your home club. So that is, yes.
Z, how did you get to adding external training?
So again, you're logged in as yourself and you're under your Paths and Learning. Up at the top right corner, there's 3 dots. And if you click on the 3 dots, your first choice is add external training. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Kristen, when you're actually
Yes.
putting all the information in about the presentation you were giving to the engineers, could you also attach the PowerPoint there? If you
Yes,
had a
absolutely.
PowerPoint?
Yes, absolutely. I would attach anything that you have that helps prove that you were truly
Okay.
doing this project.
Cool.
Anything that would facilitate your Basecamp manager understanding what you're doing and making sure that it really does apply. You know, because if I was doing a PowerPoint presentation and I wanted to apply it to create a podcast, that has nothing to do with podcast. So my Basecamp manager would need to know that and, you know, have that conversation with me. This really doesn't go together. How do you see this fitting together? So that type of situation. So anything that would facilitate them understanding what you're doing and being able to sign off on it and feel comfortable that you did the project is what you would put there.
Kristen?
Yes,
in
ma'am.
the legacy program, somebody would take their evaluation book with
Yes.
them. So then you, as a member presenting at another club, would you need to take your evaluation documents, somehow send them to your VPE for that project when it was completed?
Yeah.
And have a Toastmaster evaluate it?
So yeah, in this Pathways Basecamp scenario, there is no specific requirement for evaluation in that format. However, as Toastmasters, it should be our goal to always learn and grow. So I would suggest, if you're doing a project that is outside of Toastmasters, obviously if it's just at another Toastmaster club, you will have an evaluation form, but give the form to someone. If you're lucky, there's another Toastmaster in the room. I have several Toastmasters at my work, so there's pretty much always a Toastmaster in the room if I'm doing something at work. But if you don't, give it to somebody that you trust to give you some honest feedback, because the Pathways evaluation form is fairly specific on how to evaluate, and pretty much anybody should be able to follow that. So as a Toastmaster, I would suggest that you always request an evaluation, even if you're not doing it for Toastmasters.
Thank you.
The other thing I want to show you is, as a member, when you're in your Basecamp profile, one of your options up here across the top is feedback. So one thing that you can do as a member is request additional feedback. For instance, if you got an evaluation at a club meeting and the person was just glowing, and you know that they were probably not being honest with you, but this is something that you're working on and you really want feedback, and there's somebody you know who does great evaluations and you value their opinion and you want to request additional feedback, you can go to this feedback tab and you can request feedback. So I can choose, So I can choose, hello, it would help if I typed right. So I can add a user that I want to ask for feedback. I'm not going to actually do that right now because I don't want to do that. But you can choose to request feedback. Please let me know. Anyway, I'm not going to type this out right now. It would take us way too long. But you can request feedback from people and you can post it. You can send it to a specific person. You can ask for anonymous feedback. There's a lot of things you can do in here that we don't have time because this is not really a Basecamp Manager thing. But I just wanted to show you guys that this is an option that you can do. You can also provide feedback. And there's tutorials here on how to do that. So if somebody did something amazing and they didn't necessarily ask for your feedback, but you really wanted to give it to them, you can also do that in this feedback section right here. I'm going to go home real quick, because the other way that you can get to that, if you're at your Basecamp landing page, you've just logged in and you're right here, you can go to my feedback right here, and that gets you to exactly the same place. The other thing that you can do from that same spot, so I'm going to go back, is badges. So under badges, everything that you've done as far as your levels will all be here. But people can also award you badges. So for instance, there's a badge right here called Courageous. So somebody's awarded me the Courageous badge. So all of that is saved there. And there's like 10 different ways to get there, but I always go home because I find that the easiest way to navigate to anything. Under feedback as well, you can, I can't see everything because you guys, okay. Under feedback, the 3 dots will also take you to all of your feedback requests. I don't have any right now, So if somebody has requested feedback from you and maybe you didn't get to it right away and now you don't have the email, you don't know how to get to it, you can always go to feedback requests, and any feedback anybody's requested from you will live there. The other option that you have is My Documents. This is where you would save any evaluations that you want to save. So especially in the Zoom environment, a lot of our evaluations came to us as PDFs and we're already on our computer anyway. So if you go over here to My Documents and say that I had a level 1 evaluation, I click on level 1s, I click on Add File, and then I can just select the file, go out to my computer, wherever it is, and add it. And then that way, all of your evaluations are saved right here. Even if you get an evaluation on paper, you can scan it in and then save it here. That way you always have them in case you need to go back to them for any reason. This is also a great place because your Basecamp manager, if for some reason they didn't see your speech or they forgot to log that you did something and they come back and question it, then this is a place where they could go to find out if you had it. You could say, oh, all my stuff is saved, and they could go look at it. So when you get the chance, check out your documents. And if you have any evaluations that you've saved, maybe put them in there. That's just a great place to save them. All right, I want to make sure we leave time for questions. We have till 11, right, Anthony?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Now, the best thing about Basecamp is the tutorials, because there are some really quick and awesome tutorials in here about pretty much everything. So anything that you want to know, you can go to the tutorials and find something. So if, for instance, something was missed in training or there are updates and you want to find them, you can just go in here, you can browse under the topics and you can find little tutorials. Most of them are pretty short. So they're things you can just watch real quick to get updated on what's going on. We had a question that I wanted to make sure that we got to. Anthony, can you refresh me on the questions in the chat?
So right now there's a question about FreeToast host being synced with Pathways and pulls in the roles.
Yeah.
And when you ask for a specific feedback from a specific person, do they have to be logged into the club you're logged into?
Okay.
And someone brings a portable scanner to their meetings and scan in written evaluations, or they can use an app on their cell phone.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's a lot of scanning apps on the cell phone where you can just take a picture of something and it'll turn it into a PDF. So that's an awesome way. And there's some little tiny portable scanners that are pretty cool. There was another question though, and I'm trying to remember. It was further back.
Okay.
So is it true that FreeToast host syncs in with Pathways with your project and if you've done, from the agenda, you've been a Toastmaster and evaluator? Is that true?
No, it doesn't actually sync. They're all listed there. And I suggest, and I can show you if you want, but it doesn't actually talk to Pathways. Oh, I know what it was. It was about putting them onto Club Central. I'm good. I was going to show them how I do that. All right. You have finished a level. For instance, I'm going back now to my curriculum, my level 5. Now remember before it said pending approval, and then we went in and we approved it. So now it says completed. And I have the option to view the certificate. So I open the certificate, I PDF it, and then I email that to whichever club vice president of education that I am giving that level to. As base camp managers, I caution you to not assume that people in multiple clubs are giving you the level just because they completed it under your club, because that might not be the case. And I have had several people in one of the Pathways groups on Facebook that I'm a member of have issues because their vice president of education gave the award to their club, and that was not the club that was promised the award. So if you have members in multiple clubs, please make sure when you approve their level that they want to give that level to your club before you go over to Club Central and enter it, because that is not something that you can undo once it's done. And that could create lots of problems. I also want to make sure that you're aware that in the Distinguished Club program, a member can only give you a specific level one time, even if they're from different paths. So what I mean by that is I have given Henderson Toasters a level 1 in engaging humor. I also completed level 1 in team collaboration. Even though they're different paths, I cannot also award that to Henderson Toasters. I have to award that to a different club. But if you have members,
Why?
that it's just one of the rules in the DCP. I do not know why, but it is a rule.
Make
And
sure you note that's per year.
Yes.
Toastmaster year.
Per Toastmaster year. Well, the Distinguished Club program runs on a Toastmaster year. So in that Toastmaster year, so what that means is when you're planning out your Distinguished Club program at the beginning of the year and figuring out who is going to complete what in educationals, don't put the same name down for the same level more than once, because that is not going to be possible. Also, what it means is if you are a member and you are only in one club and you're working on simultaneous paths, you might create a situation for yourself where you're completing levels that are not counting for your club's Distinguished Club program. So as a member, that may be something you want to do. However, as a club, it is in your best interest for members to go continuously through a path rather than bouncing back and forth between multiple paths. The only time the multiple paths really makes sense is when there's multiple clubs and you have many clubs that you need to give awards to. And then in that case, you can bounce back and forth. So just know that when you're planning your DCP at the beginning of the year, and not to expect one person to give you the same level more than once. Yes, ma'am.
This is Mickey, and I noticed that you've completed engaging humor, but it only shows you an 84%. Is it
Yes.
just slow?
Yes.
Okay.
So because in every path, there is also this path completion project. So, and all this is a speech reflecting on your path.
Okay.
So, and that doesn't count for anything in the DCP. So I have now completed all of the 5 levels that count in the DCP and awarded those. However, in order to finish the path and get the path completion certificate from TI, I need to do this final reflect on my path speech. And then once I do that, and I've finished out that, it will open up this complete path as an option. And when I click on that, then it will notify TI that I've completed the path, and TI will send me a path completion certificate. And where that comes in especially is if you are working on a Pathways DTM, you have to complete 2 paths, and that means all the way through. So right now, this path is not considered complete as far as TI is concerned, even though all 5 of the levels have been done and awarded. So it's just a little distinction there. And again, it's just one speech that finishes that off. So once I do that, then I will be done with this path. And I can move on to another one. I do run multiple paths at the same time because I do have 3 clubs that I'm trying to give awards to. So it makes sense for me. But that's why, especially as vice presidents of education, those of you who are VPE, those are conversations that you have with your members, and also conversations you have with your executive board when you're strategizing your DCP and how to achieve your goals. So just make sure that you're understanding what the rules are, and also that you're communicating that with your members. Especially if you have members who have short attention spans and they want, they get halfway through a path and they want to move on to another one. Just have those conversations with them so that you're aware. All right, Anthony, what other questions? We have 5 minutes. So what
Could I
other
ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
I have one more speech to get through a level 5 presentation mastery. And if I let it go until the next Toastmaster year, would I get credit for that whole group of speech, or levels 1 through 5, or do I need to give it before the Toastmaster year is over?
No, so each level is a different educational in TI. So you should have, if you're on level 5, your 1 through 4 should have already been awarded in the DCP. Now, one thing to keep in mind, and again, this is strategy, and some people don't like to play strategy, some people do, it just depends. But if you're at the end of a Toastmaster year, for instance, I just finished level 5. I'm at the end of the Toastmaster year. None of my clubs need a level 5, but in 2 weeks, all of my clubs will need a level 5. So strategy wise, I would wait until July 1st to go into Club Central and put in my level 5, because otherwise, as far as the DCP is concerned, it's wasted. Now, again, if that is something that your club does and strategizes, that's fine. If it's not, that's fine too. It's just something to be aware of if your club has set goals. And I don't care if it's 2 weeks before I get awarded this level, because it makes no difference to me one way or the other. Pathways doesn't lock me out from anything. It doesn't make it so I can't continue on. It doesn't do anything bad to me to wait 2 weeks. That being said, I wouldn't strategize to the point where you save up all of your awards for the whole year and then enter them after July 1st. That's a little bit much as far as I'm concerned. But if it's a matter of 2 weeks and it counts for your club next year, but not this year, it's okay to wait. It's not hurting anybody.
So Kristen?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can only give one level 1 per Toastmaster year, but can you give 5 different levels to the same club in the same Toastmaster year? Okay.
Absolutely. You can give them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Kristen,
Thank
those have to be in order. If you finish
Yes.
level 3 before level 2,
Correct.
your level 3 doesn't show up.
Absolutely. So Pathways will let you finish them in whatever order you want, but Club Central will not let you enter them out of order. So if I complete level 3, but I haven't done level 2, then I cannot put in my level 3. So, because they're trying to encourage you, they are building, each one builds on the skills of the previous one. And as a member, it is in your best interest to do them in order. However, Pathways understands that sometimes that doesn't work, and you may have a project that you need to do or something that's going on that absolutely fits in level 3 and doesn't fit in level 2. So it does let you skip around, but I would be careful not to go too far, because again, then you're building up levels that you can't put into the Distinguished Club program. So skipping something because you have something going on that just really, really works is one thing. Skipping it because you just don't feel like doing it and waiting and waiting and waiting and getting, 3 or 4 levels past before you go back is not going to be in your best interest. And it's definitely not going to be in your club's best interest because they won't be able to be counting those levels in their DCP plan. So
Kristen,
yes.
can you share the Club Central portion of this? Because both, just share that too.
Absolutely. So I'm going to
Pretty
stop
please.
sharing for 1 second so I can pop over to a new share. So let me. All right, let me get out of Basecamp for a second.
We're going to be gone in 50 seconds.
Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, and of course, Club Central decided to be slow, so it doesn't want to let me go anywhere. Please let me go. All right. She might kick us out, but until then, I'm going to share screen real quick. Okay, so we are at TI, and I have clicked on Leadership Central and Club Central. I'm going to click on the club that I want, and I'm going to click on Submit Education Awards. Then there's a drop down of all of your members. So you choose the member. It will not let you choose yourself. So choose whatever member.
That jumbled, for lack of a better term. So if you wouldn't mind resubmitting, that would be fantastic. Name, club, and officer positions before you run off to your new rooms. I will share screen so that you guys can see what our last options are. For our last session, we have Vice President of Membership by Rose. We have Treasurer by Will. We have Meeting Themes and Table Topics by Dana, and Resolving Pathways Confusion by Rhonda. Those are your options. And I'm sure everybody is putting their information in. Jackie, do not run off because I have to find you.
I have another question. I'm back again.
Sweet.
How
What can I do for you, Vern?
Well, how do I get my name into the chat room? The only thing I have here is it sends to everyone.
That's fine. You can send to everyone. If you would like to hit on the chat where it says to, you can click on the down arrow and you can send it just to me if you would feel more comfortable with that.
Well, all I see is one arrow, and that points to everyone.
If you click on that arrow, can you go in there and send to Carol Campbell?
Thank you.
Scroll all the way down. You should be able to get in because I decided I was not going to finish off those other ones. Wasn't going to close them out.
Where is VPM at?
VPM should be in your breakout room.
No, it's not there.
How about VP membership?
We lost the breakout room option.
Yeah.
We're not able to join them.
Yeah, we got kicked out.
I got an invite.
I got kicked
out there.
Okay.
Is it mislabeled? It says VP PR?
No,
If you scroll down there at the bottom.
Hold, please.
It isn't
Hold,
there.
please. Relax for about another 5 seconds because somebody closed them out on me. So now I'm going to reopen them with so many different co-hosts. I think I've got a co-host that somebody keeps closing my rooms for me. So I am opening the rooms back up. Please go into the rooms after you have put your name, your club office, your club name, and your officer position in the chat for me, because we, again, are having some technical issues. So everybody should be able to go back into either vice president membership, treasurer, meeting themes, or resolve pathways confusion.
Could you please put me in membership? This is Anita.
Okay, give me half a second, Anita. Let me see if I can find you.
Oh, I'm blank. I just have my name.
No. In the way that things are in my list, it takes me just a minute to track everybody down from where they were. Vern, where can I help you move to?
Carol, I have a pop-up that says you are inviting me to join Pathways Basecamp Manager. I thought I already did that in session 2.
Then choose a different one. All I did was open it back up.
Okay.
Carol, we're getting breakout rooms from the second session, not the third.
I did not delete them because I was hoping to hang on to them, but it looks like that's going to be an issue. Again, I'm trying different things because
It's new.
it's new. We haven't ever done this before with
And
just one
folks,
link.
folks, just go ahead and click on the 3 buttons over top of the more if you're not on a cell phone, and you'll be able to pick the breakout room that you would like to go to. That way, Miss Carol doesn't have to shove you in a room.
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, my name is Karen Salk and I just joined.
Okay, what room would you like me to send you to, Karen?
I'm a sergeant at arms.
Sergeant at Arms was last session. We have membership, treasurer, meeting themes, and tabletop